This is the second battle in the bronze finals between Corwin of Amber and the Armenian king. More luck for the Armenian king. In this battle he gets the Nervii against Corwin of Amber's Syracuse. So in this matchup there isn't much Syracuse can do. Pikes and cavalry, skirmishers also an option. For the Armenian king we have 6 fierce swords, Oathsworn, 2 Celtic warriors on the flank, Levi Freeman speed bumps, 4 mighty horse, noble horse general, he is Bodognatus. For Syracuse, those who are about to die, we salute you. There are thorax and mercenary Samnites. They are in turn backed up by 4-5 pikemen, mercenary Italian cavalry, Hippeus lancers, Thoreos on the flanks, and more mercenary Samnites on the flanks. The advantage goes decisively to the barbarian horde in the infantry department. In terms of cavalry, it's more evenly matched, I'd say, but these units aren't really supposed to be fighting each other, so it's not really a meaningful comparison. But Syracuse can do a lot more damage to the infantry of the Nervii than the Nervii can do than the mighty horse can do to the infantry of Syracuse here. But again, how is Syracuse going to kill all of these sword units? Well, it looks like Corwin of Amber is going for a second line pike strategy that possibly could shield him both from frontal cavalry charges and from charging infantry. The problem with the second line pike infantry, and I think we'll see a showcase of it here, is that there is nothing stopping the opponent from simply spreading out his forces, surrounding you, and GG. So let's see what happens. It looks like Corwin is going to start moving towards his right. Armenian king is going to follow, start moving towards his left, Corwin's right. So I don't know why he moved to this side, because this is going to... well, he doesn't really have any skirmishers, so it doesn't matter, but just imagine if he had some elite skirmishers now, he could have been pelting these Oathsworn. Ooh, dangerous Hippeus play here by Corwin. Yes, the Hippeus eating all kinds of javelins, taking so much damage, but they did manage to get into the fierce swords. And even though that depleted unit didn't really get a great charge, it managed to kill some fierce swords, but the unit of Hippeus is wasted, basically. So engagements over here, the fierce swords are going to make mincemeat out of the Samnites on the charge. Well, maybe not, because they're not actually using frenzy, but 2 against 1. Good night, sweet prince, to the mercenary Samnites. These Thoreos are going to hold, but they're going to get destroyed eventually. In the center, Armenian king's general is going to run in, try to get at the pikes before they drop, but they drop, so Armenian king is withdrawing his forces. Corwin is losing his Hippeus. It got some nice kills in a short amount of time, but then it just got massacred. Corwin using pikes here to push back the lines of the Nervii. Looks like he might be able to make contact as well. Yeah, actually makes contact, amazing. Bit miss-micro there by Armenian king. Over here the Samnites are just dying so quickly to the fierce swords. The Celtic warriors in the rear are not going to make it better. The pikes are being kept busy here by cavalry. Then they're charging into the rear of the pikes over here. And nice charge by the Syracuse in general into stationary mighty horse. This pike unit isn't going to live for long. The mercenary Samnites are dropping over here. The Thoreos are going to drop. And the offensive capabilities of Syracuse and its defensive capabilities seriously compromised at this point. Thorax swords chasing after Levi Freeman. That's a good use of Levi Freeman and a poor use of thorax swords. Here we have Oathsworn just up against pikes frontally, not really caring. Killing off pikes. The Syracuse in general is dead. pikes are getting charged in the rear. They're trying to sort of reform their lines, but going down so quickly to Fierce Swords and Oathsworn. Over here, the Mercenary Samnites and the Thorax Swords were able to win. So on this flank, things are looking good for Syracuse. The only problem is that it doesn't look good for Syracuse in the center and on the Syracusan left. Syracusan right is holding well enough, but there is just too much Nervii left on the field for Armenian King at this point. If you get something like Athens or Syracuse against even Sparta, against one of these barbarian sword factions, then it's going to be super hard. You have, in my opinion, you have three options. One being skirmish, the second being cavalry, the third being pikes. But pikes are buggy as hell. Skirmishers can just get rushed, and the problem with cavalry is that yes, you can bring Hippeus, but Hippeus are so expensive that for each of these Mighty Horse units that basically can shut down the Hippeus, for each Hippeus that you bring, there can almost be brought 1.5 melee cavalry units to the field. And at this point, Hippeus are, yes, they are good units, but compared to the cost effectiveness of the Mighty Horse or the Heavy Horse, they just don't cut it, because these units are far tankier in melee. They can take missiles better, from certain angles at least, and while their charge isn't as great as the charge of the Hippeus, they're going to be super useful in tying down Hippeus and making the Greek player unable to use his Hippeus to good effect. And the same, Thorax Swords and Samnites require support to win fights. That support is going to be really hard to provide them. So Celtic Warriors just charging straight into pikes frontally. It's probably going to lose quite a few Celtic Warriors this way, but the pikes are also dropping. This is just a desperate last stand of Syracuse at this point. The Fierce Swords are sort of buffed up Celtic Warriors with better melee attack and charge. They still have terrible armor. They can do massive amounts of damage when they get good charges, but to missiles and cavalry, they're just going to evaporate. So, the Armenian King takes the bronze finals 2 against 0 for Corwin of Amber. It can be said that Armenian King finally was lucky with his factions. Nervii against the Syracuse, great matchup for Nervii. Getae versus Parthia, sort of a decent matchup, but I quite like Getae's chances in that matchup. So looking at the kills here, the few swords that Syracuse brought here, not really going to be able to stand up to Fierce Swords, Oathsworn and such. Cavalry didn't 3 Hippeus, but they weren't able to be as effective as they needed to be. Nothing did really well on, like there are no complete standout units on either side. The Fierce Swords getting 140, 130 kills, that is very good. But overall this was just a matter of the Nervii having the better melee line, and these pikes were able to be used to some effect, but the very risky frontal charges that didn't have a follow-up from the Hippeus were instrumental in the defeat of Syracuse here from the Nervii. But thanks to both Corwin of Amber and the Armenian King for participating in the tournament. Congratulations to the Armenian King for finishing 3rd. I enjoyed watching your games immensely, and I hope you will join future tournaments as well. Strength and honor.